Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Free Training Thursdays. Our topic today is going to be e-signatures inside of OfficeTools, getting you guys familiar with that process, showing you guys what that's all about. So that's kind of what we're going to be covering today. I have a pretty short PowerPoint in place here, just to give you guys kind of some pointers as to what the idea is to cover in this webinar, and then hopefully at the end, maybe about 10 minutes or so towards the end, we have some time for questions. So make sure to pop in the questions that you guys have, and then go ahead and pop in whatever you guys are looking to get to know a little bit better. Okay, so use that questions area to throw some stuff in there, and we should be ready to go. All right, so let's jump into the PowerPoint real fast here. So effectively, if we go through here, here's some of the things that we're going to be covering today. Getting you guys familiar with the basic setup, showing you some of the templates, making sure you know where to go to insert your credit card, discussing some of the possibilities as far as one-off single request signatures versus form letters, which are more templated, married couple signatures, how to get two signatures on the same document, and then where you can go to manage all of your requests. All right, so that's kind of the idea behind this. Are you guys able to see the PowerPoint, or are you guys seeing the Gmail? If someone can respond real fast, that'd be awesome. I'm not sure which screen you guys are able to see. All right, I'm getting a few that's saying that we're not seeing anything. Is this better? Can we see the PowerPoint now? All right, awesome. Apparently this is my first time doing a webinar, so thanks for dealing with me. All right, so again, basic setup, single request versus form letters, married couple signatures, and then manage requests. That's the idea. So let's move on to the next couple things inside the PowerPoint here. Ultimately, this is just resources for you guys. After today's webinar, if you guys still have questions, you can always go in abacusnext.com/support. And then also, you guys should know how to sign up for these, but if you don't by now, abacusnext.com/webinars. That's where you can go to see all the upcoming webinars that we have. But also, what's cool about it is that you can also go there to see any of the recorded ones that we've done. So if you want to go visit a topic that we've already talked about, you can go to abacusnext.com/webinars and see all of the webinars that we have up. And then also, just so you guys know how to get direct contact with the training team, you can always email us at training@officetools.com. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Sometimes we don't get to all the questions that are asked inside of the webinar, so that's a great place to shoot those. So if you didn't get your question answered during the webinar here, please feel free to shoot that question into training@officetools.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So just so you guys know what your options are. This email isn't just for the webinar stuff. If you guys have any questions regarding any topic, please feel free to use this email address to get a hold of us. That's the best way. We answer that pretty fast, and we're working on making it even more efficient. So you guys should see even more, even quicker responses on that. So training@officetools.com. Just wanted you guys to know that. And that's really all the PowerPoint we're going to try to discuss today. So let's go ahead and jump into our OfficeTools program here. So I have it up. So we're going to talk a little bit about the initial setup of getting e-signatures running. The first thing that you guys will need to do, and this is unfortunately not something I can show you, but it's relatively straightforward. If you guys go to OfficeTools.com and you go to login in the upper right-hand corner, you will log into your account through our store on our website, OfficeTools.com. And inside of there, you will see an area to put in your credit card information. If you guys were not aware or don't understand yet, because this is the first exposure you've had to e-signatures, there is a cost involved. It's minimal and very competitive. The way that we run this and what your credit card is going to be used for is actually processing the payment for the signatures itself. So what that means is we charge on a per document basis, which means when you send a document to the client, if it has one signature or if it has 1,000 signatures, you get charged 50 cents per document when you get it back. So it doesn't matter how many signatures are on there. It doesn't matter if you don't get it back. If they never finish signing it or they decline it, you're only charged that 50 cents when you receive the document back from the client fully signed. Okay. And if you have, excuse me, if you have a husband and a wife that are signing their document and they both have signatures on there, and it's going to go from the husband to the wife and then back to you, that's still, once it gets back to you, only 50 cents. So 50 cents per document, jot that down. That is the cost. And that credit card that you put into the store is going to be what's charged. And we charge at the end of the month for any signatures that have been completed. So it's not going to charge a bunch of 50-cent transactions onto your credit card. It's just going to pick one at the end of the month for the whole cost, and that's all it's going to charge that card. So just a little bit of background there. But you need to plug that card in order to make the e-signatures part work. Okay. So again, if you go to your OfficeTools.com, go to login into the store, and then you should be able to, right in the front page there, put in your credit card information. And that basically gets you to the point where you can start using the e-signatures component. Next is inside of OfficeTools, there are very minimal setup requirements for e-signatures because most of the time it's just you pick the document, you put in the signatures, and that's it. But when we're looking at the program here, if we go to the setup menu and we go to My Company, Information and Settings, and these are going to be your global options, we'll notice that there's a section in here called e-signatures. And if we click on that, there aren't very many options in here, but they are still kind of important. So number one, when you're on the general settings, there's two different types of things. Number one is the form letter default settings. These are for more mass email signatures, not just like I'm going to send the 8879 out or something like that. This is if you had some sort of maybe engagement letter or tax organizer type of thing. You can set that up inside of here, put the signatures where you want them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because ultimately this is kind of rarely used for a specific reason, which we'll get to when we get over there. But the next thing is single request, and that's just you pick the document, you put the signatures where you want it, and you send it to the client. Basically, what you want to do here is make sure that you have both of these set up to download into document management, because what that's going to mean is that when you get it back from the client, it's going to automatically download into the Documents tab, okay, right into the Documents tab. Okay, so it should already be there, and we'll see that, right, as far as an unsigned document. But once you send it to the client and they sign it, it'll come back into the Document Management tab, and it'll have the same name except for at the end it'll be in parentheses and it'll say signed. Okay, that indicates that that's a actual e-signature that came back from a client, and it'll be right in there into the Document Management tab. Now, a couple of things in here. Also, you can require spouse information to be input into your form letters if you had that. Most of the time, you're just going to want to leave that unchecked. You don't want to require something because it might not always be the case, right? You're not always going to be dealing with married couples. There's going to be other things that you're sending email signatures for. And then you can also set this single request to automatically use IRS compliance. We do follow Tier 2 of the IRS compliance when it comes to things like the 8879 and stuff like that. We do follow all protocols that are needed, but you don't always have to send an e-signature with that, okay? Because you might not just be sending IRS documents. You could be sending other things, maybe internal type documents that you want to have your client sign. This isn't just for tax type stuff. So that's why this isn't checked by default, because you don't always want to be dealing with this, especially if you're sending other things outside of 8879s and the sort. Okay. So that's kind of your general options in here. Most of the time, the two boxes that you want to make sure are checked here are the download into document management. That way, those just come flow right back in when they're signed and they're stored in your document management system for you automatically. Okay. Next tab over is email. This is an important spot because right now it's going to have the OfficeTools header. When you send out an email to the client and they start dealing with the signing of that file, they're going to see our logo there. And you have an opportunity at this point to actually insert your own. That way they don't see us, they see you. And that way it becomes a little bit more branded, and you can kind of see that you have a best results pixels there. So if you're building a graphic that you want to use for your e-signatures, and we'll see where that comes up make sure to put your own logo in here. Request notification here. This is going to be when the document goes to the client, the body of the email itself. So you guys can put in information into here. We do have a default that will go out automatically with just basic instructions, but if you wanted to customize that, you could do that. And that goes for all three of these: request, declined, and completed. These are just the templated paragraphs that are going to go out to the client when each of these actions happen. Okay. So when you first send them the document is the request notification. That's when they get alerted that you want them to e-sign something. If they decline to sign it, there's a button that says decline. If they don't want to do it and they hit decline, it'll send them another email with whatever you have inside of this area, and then completed notification. When they're all done, they get another email that instructs them on the next steps or how they're going to retrieve their document completely signed, all of that kind of stuff. And again, remember, although this is blank, there is a default that we already have going out. So you don't need to pop something in here in order for it to say something. You're only going to insert text here if you want to change what's already being sent. So take a look at it before you come in here and just pop in stuff. Make sure you don't like what we're sending already. All right. And you can use your preview down here to see how it's going to look. Let's see if we hit preview. You guys can see that's kind of what it's already going to look like on the completed side. All right, the following document has been completed. Here's the name of the file. Here's how they can access it. It lets them know it's good for 30 days, and obviously not to share this. Okay, so you can go through each of the different areas, preview what it says. If you change the text, you can see exactly what it's like inside of there. So all of that should be good to go. Okay, so that's the setup of the e-signature stuff. Ultimately, not much involved. Like I said, there isn't really many options to it because it's really just an area for you to sign something that already exists. So we're going to start into form letters versus just single request documents at this point. If you're not using our document management system, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to use the e-signatures. You're going to have to get the documents into our program. So it's not like you can use this really outside of OT. You're going to have to use the documents tab to make this work. Okay. So inside of here, we're on the documents tab right now for my test client, Keeling and Harris. Ultimately, you can only have e-signatures attached to PDFs. So if you have a document that you want them to sign, but it's a Word document or it's an Excel file, or, for whatever reason, whatever it is, it does have to be converted to a PDF. Okay? You will not be able to send other types of files out for signature. You have to change it to a PDF. Okay, so print it to PDF. You can use the OfficeTools PDF printer driver. You can use just regular, save to file, whatever it might be. But when it's in OfficeTools and you want to have it e-signed, it does need to be a PDF. As you can see, I have 4 different e-signature test documents in here. So what we're going to discuss first is the single send, or what we call single request. And that's because, honestly, when you guys get into this, that's going to be the thing that works 95% of the time. 8879s, other signature forms, because I do see a question in there. Check with the IRS as far as the requirements, but we do match tier 2 of the IRS-compliant. It's not just the 8879. Other forms should be okay, but double check what they require and the compliance level that they require. We are at tier 2. That is what we provide. Okay, certain level of KVA. So to answer that question, double check, but we should be good on things that are required by the IRS. Okay. I don't specifically know about that form, so that's why I'm telling you to double check. As far as this is concerned, single request. If I go in here, and let's just say I want to have my client e-sign this document right here, e-signature test. Okay. I'm going to go into the e-signatures button. Okay. Now, one thing to note about this as well, because it's some confusion when I do e-signature trainings, you guys as a firm do need to be subscribed to the portal. The client does not need to have a portal account, nor do you really need to even set the portal up. But you do need to have the portal on your licensing so that the e-signatures will work. If you don't have portal, you can't also have e-signatures. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you aren't currently subscribed to the portal, that will be a requirement to use e-signatures. You don't have to use the portal for anything, but we use the portal services to get these notifications to the client. Okay, so if you didn't know that, keep that in mind. So now at this point, we're going to send the selected document to be signed. So in here, we clicked on the e-signatures button. Under the documents tab, there are 4 different options. And we're going to start off with the first one here, send selected document to be signed. So I have test 1 selected, and I'm going to click that button. It's going to pull open a preview of the PDF. And I apologize, I accidentally have this as 100 pages long. So this will load a lot quicker when you're doing a real document. I was testing something else and totally blanked. I just remembered right now, but still not too bad. So inside of here, you'll see all of your pages over here on the left-hand side where you see the scroll bar. Okay, so if you had different, signatures on different pages, you would just go page by page here. Okay, and then the idea is that you'd have your document in here, and wherever you wanted your signature, you would go in and just right-click into this area. It is a right-click, okay, not a regular click, not a left click. It's a right-click. And when you right-click, you have the option of choosing a signature field, a print name field, initials, or a date. Okay, so you can pick what type of signature you're looking for. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and choose a signature field. Okay, you can, increase, you can move this around, make this fit wherever the signature line is inside the document that you're looking to be signed. And then inside of here, you are also going to choose the person who you want to sign this. Okay. Now, I happen to have 2 taxpayers and also me as a staff member built into here. This all happens on the Contacts tab. Okay, so if you go back to the OfficeTools program over here, it'll be under the Contacts tab. Okay, and I'll show you a couple of requirements on there. Okay, but I'm going to put a signature here for Keeling, and then I'm also going to insert another signature area in here right beneath this, just as an example, for Harris. Okay, and that's it. So now I have the main taxpayer and the spouse, and then I'm going to go in here. I can insert a date right next to it, for example. Again, this should be formatted based on the document that you want to have signed. Okay, and the most important part is that you make sure that these are going to be lined up. So Harris is the spouse, Keeling would be main taxpayer, and so on and so forth. Okay. And you would just go through the whole document, right-clicking and putting the signature and information that you want on each page that it has a signature. And then once you're done, you'll see all your signatures. You just send it for signature. Now, if this is IRS, then you will check this box, and you can see right here, it does specifically say 8878 and 8879. So you might want to double check on that form 2848. It might not fit, but double check. This will take you to the IRS website if you hit this question mark. And then this will be based on knowledge-based authentication. They'll have to create a PIN. They'll have to put in, email address or social security number that comes from OfficeTools. So it requires a few more steps when it really boils down to it. Okay, so that question for 2848, double check that using this question mark. See if this will work. Okay. There is another question in here, Nicole. Is the recipient able to add edit information such as address, email, etc.? I'm not sure what the question is at this point. All we're dealing with is PDFs. There is no contact information per se that we're dealing with right now. So if you could clarify, that'd be great. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for there because we haven't dealt with any contact information up to this point. So if you could clarify, that'd be great, Nicole, and I'll go ahead and address that when it gets down. Okay. So now we have 2 signatures built into here, and we're going to go ahead and send this out for signature. It's going to ask, are we sure? We'll click yes. And the document has been uploaded for signature. So now the document has been sent to the contact. Okay. So inside of here now what we can do, if you go to the e-signatures area, there's this section here that says manage requests. And if anybody has used Esignatures up to this point, this manage requests area is very good because it's going to tell you all of the requests that you have out for any client, where they are as far as the status and how many signatures have been finished. And this is basically like your, for those of you guys who use projects, your manage projects area. So this is all kind of going to show you where all of your signatures are. Now, one thing that's not directly obvious here, and I want to point this out because the questions have come up a lot. This looks pretty bland, okay, but there's not a lot of information here. But it's not obvious. On the right-hand side and on the left-hand side, there's actually two arrows that point inwards, right? Right over here, there's a little button, and right over here on the left, there's a little button. If you guys click on these little buttons, you'll notice that it actually pulls out a little bit more information for you to use. So now you can start filtering by date range. You can use things inside of here to get down to the specifics that you want to see. If you want to see all of the ones that were declined, that way you can manage and see which clients you might need to reach out to and say, oh, did you mean to decline this, or was that an accident? Right? You have the opportunity to get in there and take a look. Which ones expired? Which ones were just never addressed? Right? It's not directly obvious because they're kind of hidden in these little panes. But when you guys get in there, make sure to click those off so you guys have more information than just what's built in by default. Meredith let us know that they tried using our e-signatures for the 2848, and the IRS agent would not accept it. They haven't really looked into it any farther than that, but it looks like the initial prognosis here is that this probably might not work for 2848. Double check, make sure, but I would hate for you guys to get caught into something that's not appropriate there. So make sure that this is what you're looking for. Okay. So and we can see that we have 0 of 2 here. I actually created these emails, so they're actually coming to me, but sometimes it takes a little bit. So I'll pull this down. So I actually sent this, so now we can see, Keeling, you have a request to sign the following document. So now we're on the client side. This is what the client's going to see. There is a question in here that's asking about, does it send it to both of the spouses at the same time? It does not. Okay, Tanya, so this is going to be taxpayer 1, and then the spouse after it's signed by the taxpayer. So this goes one at a time. Okay. So just to keep that in mind. Okay. Oh, Michael also brought up the 2848 and said that it doesn't look like this is appropriate for that as well. So Michael was a little bit more set on that. So again, double check just to make sure. But it looks like a couple people are saying this probably isn't going to be the solution for 2848s. But here's the thing. So now Keeling, this is Keeling's email. Okay, it shows up in here. If I click on this, this is what she will see. She logs in. Here's the information. You have been requested to sign the following document, e-signature test 1. Click here to sign this document. So they'll click here. Now, if there is a IRS compliance at that point, they'll have to create a PIN number and enter their PIN before they can access the document or any other sort of knowledge-based authentication that is appropriate. They'll have to enter in their social or email address, those types of things. They can answer a question. All that kind of stuff will be in there, and it will all happen before they get to the file in a separate email. Okay. So inside of here, we're going to go ahead and do yes. We're going to allow this and then click continue. And then basically they can pick their fonts and do their thing there and click OK. And then now all they do is hit sign. Okay, so they just go through the document, hit sign, and do their thing from there. Okay. It'll tell them when they're done. Okay. They can click view details and see the page count. They can see kind of where this came from and all that information. Okay. This is where they can decline if they don't want to sign it. But once they're done, they hit sign, and it says you have successfully signed the document. Now, at this point, it is going to let them know that this is going to be other people involved, or if it's completely finished at this point. So this isn't necessarily going to be the same thing every time. If there is a wife's signature or a husband's signature or somebody else's signature, it will let them know that this hasn't been finalized yet. Okay. So now we're done. That's finished. This will update eventually, so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. For now, we'll leave that right there. We come back into Office Tools, and at this point, we're just waiting for it to show up on the other email address. So let me go ahead and log into Harris's email at this point. And I'm answering all the questions in here, so we're going through this and seeing any questions that are popping up. I'm addressing them as we go through. And keep popping them in there. We do have about 5 minutes left, so trying to get this so you can see that it goes to the spouse, and then we'll kind of move from there. So we got pulling it up on my computer. I accidentally hit close instead of there. So here you go. So here you go. Now we got the second email, Harris. Same thing. Click on that. Click here to sign this document. They do the same thing. Yes, agree, continue. They pick their stuff, right? They could choose different things and then sign. Same thing as Keeling did. All right, so that's good. Now they'll both get an email that has the signed document in there. Once everything updates through the portal web service, Office Tools will download that document. Sometimes that takes a little bit, and then it will also update the status of that file back here in your manage requests. Again, sometimes that takes a little bit, but that's basically the process. So there are a couple questions that I do want to address before we hop off. If you do have additional questions past this, please feel free to, again, email us, training@officetools.com. Okay. So the next question that we have inside of here has to do with, let's see, how much for the portal service, Nicole? I'm not sure. That's something you want to double check with your sales rep. I've heard a couple of things about how they're changing the pricing, changing the way that it's built into the price. So double check with your sales rep on that. They might be able to give you a different answer. So Amanda's asking, what if we only have one email address for both taxpayers? That's a great question. So inside of the contacts tab, and this actually also answers Elizabeth's question, inside of here, there's an email field located right here. Okay, and this would be for the main taxpayer. You do have to have an email in order to use e-signatures, as we've discussed. That's basically how they get this stuff. So they do have to have that. All right. But if you go into the more contacts area, okay, this will pull up here. You have Keeling and we have Harris. And this is where the email address is stored for Harris. So you do have to have an email address in both spots. Now, you don't necessarily have to have the same email address or different email addresses. You can technically have the same email, but it does have to be put into both places. So you can't just have it sitting there and then Harris will show up. You won't even be able to create Harris as an e-signature in the document unless they have an email address right here. Okay. So this main email address and the spouse email address can technically be the same, but it does have to be in both spots. Okay. Looks like that answered Shelly's email as well. Does the client actually see the document and where are they signing? That sample that I used was a blank document. There was nothing in there. I just created a 100-page PDF with no information. But yes, when you have an 8879, you have something like that you're having them sign, they will actually see the document and the information that is looked on there. So that is not an indicative sign of how your clients will see it. They'll see the actual file. Mine was just a blank PDF. But can the process of e-signatures be password protected? Here's the thing. Ultimately, it is not password protected. If you use the IRS-compliant, then they can create a PIN, and the only way that they can get into the document is by creating a PIN, but the document itself is not quote-unquote password protected. So if you want it to be more protected than just sent via email, then using the IRS-compliance will be the way you want to go. Even if it's not an IRS document, you can use that as a form of security if you would like. But the document itself is not actually being sent to them. It's just kind of uploaded to the e-signature service. So it's not quote unquote password protected. Tanya asks, are e-signatures mobile phone / tablet friendly, or is it better to do this on a desktop? It's always better to do it on a desktop, but it is mobile friendly. It might be a little harder to see the information or a little bit harder to see the document, but it's just accessed via email, so they can technically go onto their phone or their tablet and sign it. Is there actual signatures or signatures with pre-printed fonts? Sandra, that's a great question. It is pre-printed. They're not printing it out and signing it. They're not using their finger. It's just click sign. That is what e-signatures are in this case. Other cases may be actual signed, but this specific thing, they acknowledge that they want it signed this way or this way. They can pick pre-printed fonts, but it is not their actual signature. How do you see the questions being asked? When you choose that, you actually set it up what the questions are. So when you choose the IRS compliance option, you get to pick what you're asking them and what the answer is, and they have to know the answer, Brian. So you build it on your own. Okay, guys. Thank you guys very much. That's the last question I have. That's the basics. We didn't get into everything. There are the form letters, but like I said, that encompasses less than 5% of what e-signatures are. So we went over the major part. If you guys do have additional questions, please shoot us an email, training@officetools.com. Tune in for next week, see what the topics are. Make sure to sign up for anything that's upcoming and also take a look at what we have pre-recorded, and it'll be awesome. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you guys very much. Again, any questions, send it over to me, and we'll be happy to get those answered for you. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.